Shalom, shalom, Yasharallah. So I want to start off by saying shalom, wa barakatah, or peace and blessings to Israel scattered to the four corners of the earth. And I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh. And I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, our Messiah, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So it's showing I got a low signal. For those of you who are on here, it shows there's a few people on here. If you could let me know if it sounds choppy, and I'll go ahead and take my video off the screen just so that it'll get a better signal. Right. Let me just do something real quick. So I've been meaning to do these at least every day, every other day. Shalom, Ak. Can you hear me good or is it choppy? So I've been meaning to do these a little bit more often, but I've been real busy. No Jomar today. No, the brother was busy today. Tomorrow, most high willing, he'll be on here. All right. How is it coming in though? Is it coming in choppy? Okay, you can hear me. All praise to the Most High. Most High willing, Jomar will be on here tomorrow. But like I said, I've been meaning to do these a little bit more often, but I've been busy. I'm not staying idle at all, as we're gonna go over in Sirach 33. Idleness teaches much evil. But today we're gonna go over chapter 33. Tomorrow, Most High willing, me and the brother Jomar are gonna do another live, and then Saturday we'll do another one, and me and my house is keeping Day of Atonement tomorrow or Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown. So I'll be trying to do at least a couple lives during that time, to stay in the scriptures, stay in the spirit, and like I said, maybe 2, 3, 4 different lives in that 24-hour period, Most High willing, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and start in Sirach chapter 33. This is a beautiful chapter for those of y'all who haven't read it. One of my favorites in Sirach, but there's many good chapters in Sirach, right? So we're gonna start in Sirach chapter 33 and verse 1, and it says, "There shall no evil happen unto him that feareth Yahweh, but in temptation even again he will deliver him." Right? So it says, "There shall no evil happen unto him that feareth Yahweh." So we have to first understand what it means to actually fear Yahweh. Because a lot of people say they fear the Most High, but their actions actually show that they don't fear the Most High, right? So this is Sirach chapter 1 and verse 21. It says, "The fear of Yahweh driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath." So the fear of the Most High, the real fear of the Most High, is going to drive away sins. What does that mean? It means you're going to start offending less. It means you're going to start sinning less because you actually fear the Most High and you don't want to feel his wrath, right? And that's why it says, "And where it is present, it turneth away wrath." Where the real fear of the Most High is present, it's going to make you stop sinning as much because you fear him, and it's going to turn away his wrath, his anger, his curses, because you are actually keeping the laws and applying what you're reading more because you fear him. So back to chapter 33, it says, "There shall no evil happen unto him that feareth Yahweh, but in temptation, even again, he will deliver him." So I don't know if it's ever happened to any of you brothers and sisters, but I know it's happened to me a countless amount of times where you can just even think, right? Satan and his spirits get into your mind and get you to think, okay, maybe I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna smoke weed, or I'm gonna whatever the case may be, break Sabbath. I'm gonna just giving you examples, right? I'm gonna lust or fornicate or whatever the case may be. And when that happens, almost immediately, sometimes the Most High delivers you from that temptation, right? And it's because you truly fear the Most High, right? It's like in Psalm 91, which is one of my favorite psalms as well, because I was born in the year 91, right? This Psalm chapter 91 and verse 9, "Because thou hast made Yahweh, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. Right? So because you made the Most High your habitation, what does that mean? That you're living in the scriptures, you're living by the scriptures, right? Then the Most High will deliver you. So going back to Sirach 33 and 1, it says, but in temptation, even again, he will deliver him. Because who's bringing that temptation? It's Satan that's bringing the temptation, right? So the Most High can deliver you from those things if you actually fear him and you're actually sinning less and striving to live by his word, right? So let's keep going. Verse 2, a wise man hateth not the law, but he that is a hypocrite therein is as a ship in a storm. Right? So why won't a wise man hate the law? Right? Because a wise man, wisdom is a gift, right? That's why the Most High calls it a her. Wisdom is supposed to be every man's first wife, right? How do you get wisdom? By keeping the laws. So this is Sirach chapter 1 and verse 21. The fear of Yahweh, oh Salakia, 1 and 26. If thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and Yahweh shall give her unto thee. Right? So if you really desire wisdom, I know brothers that ask me that all the time. How do you get wisdom? How did you get understanding of the scriptures? Questions like that, right? How do you do it? By keeping the Most High's commandments. Right? I'm going to read it again. Sirach 1 and 26. If thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and Yahweh shall give her unto thee. Right? The Most High can give her unto you if you're keeping the commandments. Read that one more time because it's a very important verse. Sirach chapter 1, verse 26. If thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and Yahweh shall give her unto thee. Right? It's like in martial arts, all the martial arts I've ever done, I've learned that anything worth it, right, does not come easy. It's the same thing with wisdom. Wisdom is worth it, right? Wisdom is what we're supposed to be seeking for, right? But it comes with a price, and that price is keeping the commandments of the Most High. Nakama, shalom, sis. Kingdom minded, shalom. So I'm gonna keep going. Back to Sirach 33 and 2. A wise man hateth not the law. Why? Because he has to keep the laws in order to get that wisdom. Right? So he got that wisdom by keeping the laws, so he's not going to therefore hate the law, right? But he that is a hypocrite therein is as a ship in a storm, right? And that's like going into James chapter 1 and 8, where it says you're like your faith is like a ship in the storm. Some people are like that with the laws as well, right? In James the first chapter, it talks about how your faith is like, okay, I believe the Most High is going to give me this, now I don't, right? I believe He's going to deliver me from temptation, now I don't. This is talking about in the law. A wise man hateth not the law, but he that is a hypocrite therein is as a ship in a storm, right? So a ship in a storm is going to be tossed to and fro, right? This is how a lot of brothers and even sisters are with different doctrines right now, right? And the word speaks about that, getting tossed to and fro with all winds of doctrine. This is how some people are in the laws as well. They'll be like, okay, I'm going to keep the Sabbath. But I'm not going to honor my parents, right? I'm going to not steal or kill, but you know what? These other laws, I don't want to keep those, or they don't apply to me, or I don't want to be set apart, right? That's being a hypocrite in the law. Because if you're going to keep any of the laws, you should be striving to keep all of them, right? Verse 3, a man of understanding trusteth in the law, and the law is faithful unto him as an oracle, right? An oracle is something who speaks for somebody else, right? So a man of understanding trusts in the law, and the law is faithful unto him. Why does a man that have understanding trust in the law? Because the law was given by who? By the Most High. So if you trust in the Most High, then you should be trusting in His Word, right? And His Word, the law was the first part of the Word of the Bible that was written down, right? That was the first thing they were following. It's like when I talk to Christians, for example, and they say, I'll always ask them, like, what about the so-called Old Testament? What about the laws? Oh, we don't have to keep that. Well, why not? Wasn't Christ keeping that? And then it's funny to point out to them that Christ wasn't following the so-called New Testament, right? Because it wasn't even written yet. So if we want to be Christ-like, we have to keep the laws to the best of our ability, right? As the disciples were, right? So a man of understanding trusteth in the law, and the law is faithful unto him. The law is faithful because the Most High wrote it, and the Most High is faithful, right? But also, there's blessings for following that law. And the Most High is faithful to give you those blessings if you're truly following the law in sincerity and coming from a sincere and humble spirit, right? So, verse 4, prepare what to say, and so shalt thou be heard. And so thou shalt be heard, and bind up instruction, and then make answer, right? So I've seen a lot of brothers and even sisters that get into trouble because they don't follow this principle, right? This verse right here. It says, prepare what to say, and so shalt, and thou, Salakia, and so thou shalt be heard, and bind up instruction, and then make answer, right? A lot of times people are too hasty to speak and they just start yapping, right? And then people don't want to hear them because they're talking all this nonsense. They didn't even think about what they were going to say, right? And this goes along with 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. Let all things be done decently and in order. This also goes with brothers or sisters that try to teach something or post about something or comment against you on something, right? It says bind up instruction and then make answer. There's a lot of brothers that teach when they haven't even bound up enough instruction in their own hearts, in their own minds, right? And then they get cut by Christians or by whoever, when in reality that shouldn't be happening, right? They'll bring out a verse that goes against them, and they don't even know what to say to defend the gospel, right? Because they didn't bind up instruction first. So this is Sirach 4 and 29, which is another precept for it. It says, be not hasty in thy tongue, and in thy deeds slack and remiss. So when you're hasty in your tongue, you're too hasty to speak, too quick to speak, you are going to miss the target, right? You're being slack and you will remiss what you're trying to say. You're trying to get your point across, but you're being too hasty to speak, and therefore you don't even say what you meant to say, right? And you could have been right. You could have, the precepts to back up what you're saying, but you don't even bring them out because you were too hasty. And now they don't even want to hear what you got to say, right? So that's why it says, Sirach 33 and 4, prepare what to say, and so thou shalt be heard, and bind up instruction, and then make answer. Verse 5, the heart of the foolish is like a cartwheel, and his thoughts are like a rolling axle tree, right? So in Hosea 4 and 6, it says, my people are destroyed for what? For lack of knowledge, right? That is what being foolish means. You have a lack of knowledge. So here it says, the heart of the foolish is like a cartwheel. So what does a cartwheel do, right? Like for those of you who know about gymnastics, stuff like that, my daughters were in gymnastics maybe 8, 9 years ago before we were in the truth. And a cartwheel is where they get on their hands and they do like a circle, right, with their bodies. So it's saying the foolish, their thoughts, right? The heart of the foolish, which your heart is your mind, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your thoughts, so like his heart is like a cartwheel, just going around in circles, right? And then it says his thoughts are like a rolling axle tree. So imagine an old chariot back in the days, right? And what were the wheels or the rims made out of, right? They were made out of a tree. So when it says an axle tree, the axle is what connects the two wheels, right? So again, it's saying your thoughts are just, they just keep going and going and going, right? So good precept for this is Proverbs 16:3. It says, commit thy works unto Yahweh, and thy thoughts shall be established. Right? So having your thoughts established means having them grounded, right? Having your thoughts firm and set. I'm gonna follow the word, right? It says the heart of the foolish is like a cartwheel. His thoughts are like an axle tree. You got people's minds, and this could go back to how it was saying in verse 2, how there's men that are hypocrites in the law, right? They're like a ship in the wind. Like you're trying to follow the word, and then the next day you're not following the word. You're feeling lazy, or you're feeling out of the spirit, or you don't even want to study, or you start hanging out with other people and their spirits are jumping on you, right? And your thoughts are just going, and man, I want to follow the word though, but now I want to do this. And I should be studying, but no, I'm not going to study. I'm too lazy, right? Your thoughts are just like a cartwheel. So Proverbs 16:3 says, when you commit your works to Yahweh, the things that you do, right, then your thoughts will be established. He will start to establish your thoughts, right? And committing your works can be anything from praying to studying to keeping the Sabbath. You're starting to apply the things that you learn, right? Because it's like I say all the time, there's too much woke and not enough work. There's too much faith and not enough works, right? So I'm gonna keep going. Um, Sirach 33:6. A stallion horse is as a mocking friend. He neigheth under every one that sitteth upon him. Right? So a stallion horse is as a mocking friend. I'm sure we can all attest to the fact that you have that one friend, or maybe multiple friends or family members, right? That just mock and mock and mock, right? Or they'll talk down on you, talk shit for lack of a better term, right? And the reason they're doing it is because it's just like this. It says, a stallion horse is as a mocking friend. He neigheth under everyone that sitteth upon him. Okay? I'm going to read it one more time. A stallion horse is as a mocking friend. He neigheth under everyone that sitteth upon him. So a lot of times, the majority of the times, when people mock you, it's because in some way, shape, or form, they feel that you are above them in some area, right? They may think, well, this person's happier than me. This person's wiser than me. This person is doing better than me, right? And because they feel that way, they feel the need to put you down in order to make themselves feel like they're better, or to make themselves feel better. Let's just say it like that, right? So a stallion horses as a mocking friend, he neigheth under everyone that sitteth upon him, right? And that's that envious spirit. I was just reading that earlier in Proverbs, I believe it's 27, right? Proverbs 27:4. It says, wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Right? So wrath is cruel, anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Right? So a stallion horse is as a mocking friend, he neigheth under every one that sitteth upon him. So maybe it's when that continues to happen, it's a good idea to be more set apart from those people. Don't sit upon that horse, if you catch my drift, right? So the sister said, Khan, but I still love them, and they tried to break my spirit. Khan, we don't hold hatred towards anybody, right? We're not supposed to hold on to hatred. It's like the worldly saying. I know it sounds cliche, but when you hold on to hatred towards somebody, it's like giving someone or having a poison for somebody else, and you're the one drinking it, and you think that it's going to hurt them, right? It's only going to hurt your spirit, right? It's not going to hurt them in any way, shape, or form. So we don't hold on to hatred, or we're not supposed to hold on to hatred against anybody or hold a grudge against anyone, right? Of our neighbors. So verse 7, why doth one day excel another? when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun. So it's saying, why is one day excelled or above or more important than another when every single day, the light of every day in the year is of the sun, right? And it's going to tell us why right now. But this is also alluding to, or symbolically alluding to Yahushua, right? Because he's the son of the Most High. He said, I am the light of the world, right? The light comes from him. He is the word. The word is the light. Proverbs 6:23, my commandment is a light. The commandments are where in the word, in the Torah, right? So verse 8, by the knowledge of Yahweh, they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts. So why does one day excel another? Why is one above? It says by the knowledge of Yahweh they were distinguished, because Yahweh was the one that excelled and made the feasts and the holy days, which we just read, me and the brother Jomar in the last live, if you missed it, and we talked about the seasons as well, right? Verse 9, some of them hath he made high days and hallowed them. Hallowed meaning he made them holy. And some of them hath he made ordinary days, right? The Most High set up um, some days that are better than the others. The holy days are more important. They're hallowed, they're holy, right? They're Sabbaths. Um, verse 10, and all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. In much knowledge, Yahweh hath divided them and made their ways diverse, right? And that can also be going into, Second Ezra's the 6th chapter, which that's for another lesson. But how the Most High divided everybody, right? He divided the nations, okay? And some of them hath he blessed and exalted, and some of them hath he sanctified and set near himself. So some, it's telling you he didn't bless everybody, right? Some he blessed, some he exalted, put up higher than others. And this doesn't have to, this can mean financially, but this can also mean with wisdom, with understanding, right? Some are more exalted as parents, right? Some are more exalted in congregations, things of that nature. And some of them hath he sanctified, made holy, and set near himself. Right. So this is the whole goal that we should all be trying to attain, is being near to the Most High. Right. And it says, but some of them hath he cursed and brought low and turned out of their places, as the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him to render to them as liketh him best. So it's telling you, and me, and I believe the brother Jomar as well, did a lesson a while back, it was months ago, on the potter and the clay. Right? The Most High is the potter, we are the clay, and he does with us and made us as he pleases. Right? The potter cannot respond, the pot cannot respond to the potter and say, why'd you make me like this? Right? As a matter of fact, I'll just get one precept on it real quick. In Romans chapter 9, there's a lot of precepts that go along with this, but I would just say for y'all to go back to that video if you want to check it out. Um, this is Romans chapter 9 and verse 20. Nay, but O man, who art thou that repliest against the Most High? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? So you're going to say to the Most High, why'd you make me this way? Right? And saying, nay, but oh man, who art thou to reply against the Most High? Who are we to reply to the Most High? Why'd you make me like this? Right? Why'd you make me wicked? Why'd you make me to follow you? Why'd you make me to not follow you? Right? Verse 21, hath not the potter power over the clay? The potter, the Most High, has power over all of us, right? Of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor, right? So we know that he made vessels unto honor to follow him, and then he made vessels unto dishonor to not follow him, right? To rock the will of the Gentiles, to live like Gentiles, whether it be Israelites that aren't chosen, or whether it just be heathen nations of people in the flesh or in the spirit, right? But either way, the potter has power over the clay. We are nobody to say to the Most High, why'd you put me in this situation? Why this, why that, right? So going back to Sirach 33 and 13. I'm going to read it one more time. As the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him, to render to them as liketh him best. He made us as he likes best, right? And he knows best. And we're all going to fulfill his will and his plan, whether we like it or not, right? Verse 14, good is set against evil and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly, right? So we all know almost every movie, this theme is played out, right? They say art imitates life, right? I say life imitates the Bible, right? But art imitates life. So all these movies, you see this verse, Sirach 33 and 14, coming into play. It says, good is set against evil, right? We always see this. Everybody knows good is set against evil and life against death. Because in since the very beginning, since Exodus, since Deuteronomy, since Leviticus, since the Torah, the Most High said what? He said, these are the commandments, keep them if you want life, right? Eternal life. And if not, like it says in Romans, the wage of sin is death. So it says, good is set against evil and life against death. But this is the part that most people don't understand and don't apply, right? So is the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly. So we all have to understand and always keep in mind that the sinner is set against the godly. When you're striving to live godly, anybody who's not striving to follow the Most High is set against you, according to the word, right? So if you were trying to do something, if you were trying to do anything, right, and someone's set against you, you already know what that means, right? You're not going to sit down and have lunch with someone who's set against you, right? But when it comes to this word, a lot of people don't believe this or just don't apply this, right? That the sinner is set against the godly and the godly is set against the sinner. We have to be set against them, right? Amos 5 and 15, hate the evil and love the good. Establish judgment at the gate. Meaning anything that is against the Most High, anything that the Most High hates, we're supposed to hate as well. Anything that the Most High loves, we're supposed to love as well, right? Oh, shalom, Mak, shalom to the brother Jomar. The sister said, calm, brother. That's why they try so hard to get you to anger, but I pray for strength and for them. Khan. Yahushua said in Matthew and Salakia froze up for a second. Said in Matthew and in Luke that you're supposed to pray for your enemies and them that hate you, right? And it says, blessed, they'll be blessed when they hate you for his name's sake, right? So going back to this, it says that the sinner is set against the godly. So if someone's set against you and you continue to not be set apart from them, this is what's going to happen right here, right? This is Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 18. It says, wisdom is better than weapons of war. We know this, right? Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroyeth much good, right? One sinner destroys much good. So think about this for a second. It could take you years, it could take you months, weeks, many days to get past something. Let's say you have a problem with keeping Sabbath. You finally start keeping Sabbath. You hang out with one sinner, and it took so long for you to start keeping Sabbath, and that one sinner destroys much good and gets you to break Sabbath. right? They cook something for you on Sabbath and you eat it, right? And you just broke Sabbath. Or let's say you had a problem with lust and you get over it, took you weeks, months, maybe years, and you hang out with that one person and they get you to fall into lust, right? Whatever the case may be. It says, but one sinner destroyeth much good, right? That's Ecclesiastes 9 and 18. Wisdom is better than weapons of war. You're getting all this wisdom, right? Trying to live by the scriptures, by the wisdom of the word, but one sinner destroyeth much good. And this is why you have to remember Sirach 33 and 14. The godly is set against the sinner, and the sinner is set against the godly, right? And now I've seen brothers and sisters post and say things like, well, we're supposed to be like Yahushai, and Yahushai sat with the sinners, right? But you have to understand that Yahushai was pushing the word all the time. He was trying to get them to turn from their sin all the time. So if you're going to be hanging around some sinners, right, which I do not recommend if you're weak in the spirit, right? But let's say you are, then you better be pushing the word on them, right? You better be pushing the word all the time. Don't be all they need is one little in, right? What I mean by that is they're gonna say, oh yeah, you want to watch this or you want to hang out here, or whatever. Let's say you're having a problem with smoking weed. Oh yeah, let's just chill here, whatever. Nah, it's cool, man. Like I don't smoke no more, I don't drink no more, whatever. Nah, it's cool. I won't even offer you whatever. And then boom, next thing you know, you're smoking weed, right? Or you're trying to get away from lust, and then next thing you know it, you're doing some lustful things with this person, right? Or whatever the case may be. So you got to remember that the sinner is set against the godly. So it's not really their fault if you're trying to live godly and you're hanging out with them and they get you to go off. Because you should know that they are set against you from the beginning, right? It's like Judas, when they were sitting at the so-called Last Supper, right? What happened? Judas or Satan entered into Judas, right? Showing that Satan always tries to be around those that are living godly or striving to live and serve the Most High, right? And then what happened right um when Yahushua said one of y'all is going to betray me, and then they started to say, oh man, who's going to betray him, right? And then it said there was a quarrel, there was a disagreement among them who was going to be the best, right? This is how Satan, he sows discord amongst people, right? So if he could get to the disciples, one of the disciples who was walking with Yahushua, then we should all know that any of us, especially knowing that the sinners are set against us trying to live godly, we should know that anybody around us who is not striving to live godly and applying the Bible to the best of their ability is going to try to get us to go off, right? But I'll digress on that. So let's keep going. Verse 15. So look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another, right? So we got the sun and the moon, we got the night and the day, right? The spring and the winter, right? Where stuff is grown, where stuff is dead. We got the sinner and the godly, right? They're always set against each other, or like it said up a little bit farther, right? Or when we were reading in Romans, Salakia, in the 9th chapter, how it said there's a vessel for honor and a vessel for dishonor, right? He makes two and one's against the other. So verse 16, I awaked up last of all as one that gathereth after the grape gatherers. By the blessing of Yahweh I profited and filled my winepress like a gatherer of grapes, right? So think about it this way. Think about it from Solomon's perspective, right? I awaked up last of all as one that gathereth after the grape gatherers. So, you know how they say in the world, the early bird gets the worm, right? Imagine you wake up and like me and the brother Jomar always say, you can look at things spiritually and physically, right? Which we're going to get into that in a few more verses as well. But you can look at it spiritually and physically. If you physically wake up late, after the people that gathered grapes, right? Let's say you have a big old vineyard and they already gathered all the grapes, right? What's going to be left for you? It's going to be the scraps. It's going to be whatever's left over, right? So he's saying, I awaked up last of all as one that gathereth after the grape gatherers. By the blessing of Yahweh, I profited. So he's still saying, even though I came late, I still profited, right? And you can apply this as well to us spiritually waking up, right? I woke up about a little more than 5 years, maybe 5.5 years ago. Maybe some of you is a couple years ago, a few months ago, a few weeks ago, a few days ago, right? But through the blessing of the Most High, you can still profit, right? Because the Most High's blessings surpass all things. So it says, by the blessing of Yahweh, I profited and filled my wine press like a gatherer of grapes. So when you talk about Yahushua in Genesis and in Revelation, and it talks about his eyes being red, and his eyes being red with wine, that wine is the doctrine, right? So also when you talk about Babylon in Revelation, right, it talks about how the nations have drank the wine of fornication with Babylon, right? That's that doctrine that they push, that filthy fornication of doctrine that goes against the Most High, right? So when it says one more time, I awaked up last of all as one that gathereth after the great gatherers. By the blessing of Yahweh I profited and filled my winepress like a gatherer of grapes. Consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning. So it's saying, even if you wake up later through the blessing of the Most High, you can still get that doctrine, right? And like Solomon said here, consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning, right? And when you really think about it, Solomon was the wisest man to walk the earth besides Yahushua, right? But matter of fact, let's read. This is one of my favorite stories in the whole Bible, right? Let's go to Kings, First Kings chapter 3. This is when Solomon was being made the king, right? And the Most High asked him what he wanted. He told him he would give him one thing, right? So I'm gonna start on um verse 5. This is First Kings chapter 3 and verse 5. In Gibeon, Yahweh appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and Yahweh said, ask what I shall give thee, right? So the Most High asked Solomon what he wanted, right? Because if you read up in the chapter, it said Solomon loved Yahweh. He was walking in the statutes of David, his father, and of the Most High. Um, Verse 6, and Solomon said, thou hast showed unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with thee, and thou hast kept him and thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. So Solomon saying that the Most High did him a great kindness. He let him live long enough to see his son become the king in his stead, right? So I'm gonna jump to the point where he asks for what he wants, right? So verse 8, and thy servant is in the midst of thy people. Thy servant talking about himself, about Solomon, right? And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, in the midst of the chosen people of Israel, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge thy so great a people? Right? So this is what he asked for. And actually, I'm going to jump back up to verse 7 just to make the point. It says, and now, O Yahweh my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father. And I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. So this is Solomon telling the Most High. He says, I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. So basically showing humility and saying, look, I don't know how to do anything. Yes, I'm the king, but I don't know how to run the show, right? I need you. And then he asks, he says, I need understanding to judge your people, to discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? Right? So this is when Solomon already became the king. And if you go on to read the rest of that story, it's a beautiful story, right? But I'm gonna go back just to make the point. So Sirach 16 and 33, or 33 and 16, Salakia. I'm reading it backwards because Hebrew's backwards, right? I waked up last of all. So he's saying I waked up last of all. If you think about it, would the time to get understanding and discernment and all these things be when you're being anointed and becoming the king of Israel? No, right? So when Solomon says, I woke up last of all, he became the king of Israel. And then he got the knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and discernment to be the king of Israel, right? And when you read Ecclesiastes, the whole book, it says he gave his mind to know all things, to know wisdom, understanding, to know folly, right? So when he says, I waked up last of all as one that gathereth after the great gatherers, by the blessing of Yahweh I profited, and filled my winepress like a gatherer of grapes, gathering up that doctrine, right? The wine, which is the doctrine. Consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning, right? And that's what Solomon did. He's still teaching us to this day every time you read Ecclesiastes and Proverbs and Sirach, right? The brother Jomar said, beautiful thing about being a part of the body of Hamashiach or Christ. Some people have been laboring for longer periods of time and through experience can hand that knowledge to those who need it coming in. Khan, that is a beautiful thing, right? And we always give all praises and honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh because all wisdom comes from Him, right? Like it says in Proverbs chapter 2 and verse 6. I'm going to get that real quick. Proverbs 2 and 6. For Yahweh giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. Right? So only the Most High gives wisdom. And many times he gives that wisdom to people, like the brother said, that are going to be passing that knowledge down. Right? Like that saying goes, each one teach one. Right? If I could help out one person on a live video that I'm doing, I'm happy with that. Right? I'm more than happy with that. Because like it says in Luke, the 15th chapter, it says all the angels in heaven are happy about it, right? When one sinner repents, right? So let's go back to Sirach 33 and 17. Going along with that, consider that I labored not for myself only, but for all them that seek learning. So let's go to chapter 24 and 32. It says, I will yet make doctrine to shine as the morning. Again, he was talking about the wine, which is the grapes, the doctrine. I will yet make doctrine to shine as the morning, and will send forth her light afar off. I will yet pour out doctrine as prophecy, and leave it to all ages forever. Right? And this is exactly, like I said, this is exactly what the Most High used Solomon to do, right? He said, I will pour out doctrine as prophecy and leave it to all ages forever. We're still reading this thousands and thousands of years later, right? Through all ages. Behold, that I have not labored for myself only, but for all them that seek wisdom, right? So it's exactly what Solomon said in chapter 33 as well. So the sister said, Khan, I just start following you on Instagram not too long ago, and you're more informative and bring out the scriptures and not yelling and screaming like I see with other brothers. Don't get me don't get me started, Salakia, on the brothers on Clubhouse. So Khan, I try to rule my spirit to the best of my ability, but all praise to the Most High for that. Anytime I can give help to give anybody edification through the Spirit is a blessing not only to them but to me as well. And yeah, like I said, there's many brothers. Just today there was a few people trying to get me on what is it, on TikTok, Clubhouse, but I'm trying to stay off of those as much as possible. It's just more distractions, right? It's more things to lead to idleness and to lead to just a whole bunch of evils, right? So let's keep going. This is verse 18. Hear me, O ye great men of the people, and hearken with your ears, ye rulers of the congregation. Right? So these next few verses are speaking or directed more to the brothers that are in a position of power. Now, it doesn't have to mean you have a position of power in a camp or stuff like that. It could be in your household as well, right? You have a family, you have a rib, you have children, you have a lot of friends or family members in the truth, etc. It says, give not thy son and wife, thy brother and friend power over thee while thou livest, and give not thy goods to another, lest it repent thee, and thou entreat for the same again. Right? So there's a few points to bring out there. It says, don't give power to your son, to your children, to your wife, to your brother or your friend, right? As long as you live, don't give anyone power over you, right? The only one who's supposed to have power over you is the Most High, right? And as a matter of fact, let me go to chapter 31. I'm going to read 31 and 31. It says, rebuke not thy neighbor at the wine, and despise him not in his mirth. Give him no despiteful words, and press not upon him with urging him to drink. Right? So the last part of it says, press not upon him with urging him to drink. Didn't that used to happen all the time in the word? People pressing on you. What's the word they use? Peer pressure, pressing on you to drink, or people press on you to drink false doctrine, right? To come to the Christian church. They press on you to hit this blunt, right? They press on you to do all these wicked things, right? So going back to 33 and 19, it says not to give your friend, your brother, your wife, your son power over you, right? A lot of times peer pressure is a B, right? And you let them get power over you and you just give in to what they want you to do, right? I've seen that happen. Um, I've seen that happen with multiple sisters have reached out to me about that as well. When a man pressures them to do certain things sexually, right, and they feel the need to do it and they give in, you are putting that person over the Most High. You're letting them give power over you, and then men as well. You're letting that let women or children or anybody have power over you, right? The brother Jomar said, press on you to join the camp. Khan. When me and a couple of brothers would go out teaching, right? And there was a few camps, and like I said before, very well-known camps that were pressing on us to join, right? And through the Spirit, I mean, the Most High led us away from that. I'll praise the Most High for that, right? A lot of people get pressured or pressed in to join in the camp, like the brother said, right? And then brothers don't end up agreeing with the doctrine of the camp, and then what? They stay in the camp anyways, right? Which makes absolutely no sense to me at all. So let's keep going. It says, as long as thou livest and hast breath in thee, give not thy Salakia, cut off for a second. I'm gonna read verse 20 again. It says, as long as thou livest and hast breath in thee, if you're breathing right now, if you're living right now, give not thyself over to any, right? Don't give anyone power over you. In other words, don't allow anybody to get you to go off. Don't allow anybody to get you to move away from the Most High, to go against the word of the Most High, to hit that weed, to break the Sabbath, to disobey your parents, right? To kill, to steal, to lust, to fornicate, to do any of the acts or the works of the flesh, right? Verse 21, for better it is that thy children should seek to thee than that thou shouldest stand to their courtesy. And here's another big one, right? Children nowadays, especially spiritually, oppress some of their parents, right? I've seen parents that know about the truth and their children convince them to allow them to do things that are wicked. Their parents know you're not supposed to be celebrating whatever it is. What's Halloween's coming up? You're not supposed to do that. It's wicked. It's a Satan. It's Satan's one of Satan's high holy days. It's a Satanist what is it called? Holiday. But the children want that. Come on, everybody's doing it. Let me just go dress up, or let me do this. Let me just go out to this place. Let me go out with my friends, whatever. And the parents allow it, right? Or even just as bad, they want to go to a Christian church, right? And the parents that are in the truth or know of the truth and know that Christianity is Satan, it's antichrist. Let's put it that way, right? Christianity is antichrist because Christ kept the laws, and Christianity teaches you you don't have to keep the laws, right? And they all break Sabbath, and they all eat abominable foods, and none of them keep the holy days that we're commanded to keep, but they all keep the holidays. And then the children convince the mom or the dad or whoever that they can, or that they should be allowed to go to the Christian church, or they should be allowed to keep these antichrist holidays, right? I'm gonna read it again. For better it is that thy children should seek to thee than that thou shouldest stand to their courtesy, right? A lot of parents are standing to their children's courtesy. Okay, if you want to do it, go ahead. And these parents are proving that their children have power over them, and that in reality they don't really care about their children's souls because they're letting them do something that is bad for their souls, right? That is going to bring curses upon them and upon their household, right? So it says, for better it is that thy children should seek to thee. Your children should be serving you, not the other way around, right? the, the brother said, but they tithe, right? They don't believe. So think about that for a second. The Christian church, Christianity says you don't have to keep the laws, but they tithe, right? I remember a brother told me not too long ago, he was like, and of course this isn't something I would say or condone, right? But he was like, well, if the pastor says the laws are done away with, then we can commit adultery. You should get with his wife and see what he thinks about it, right? And then see if he thinks you should be keeping the laws, right? I guarantee you he'll flip it. You'll flip the script on him on that one. So 22, in all thy works keep to thyself the preeminence, leave not a stain in thy honor. So in all your works keep your preeminence. Preeminence is like superiority. Salaki, I'm gonna cut off my video real quick just so the stream will keep going better. I'll be right back, y'all. Y'all can hear me, right? My stream keeps cutting off, so I'm gonna cut off the video, just so we'll have a faster connection, right? So we're in Sirach 33 and 22. It says, "In all thy works, keep to thyself the preeminence, keep to thyself that superiority." Now, this doesn't mean think you're better than everybody else and I'm more righteous and this, that, and the other. Remember in verse 18, where it started this whole topic, it says, "Hear me, O ye great men of the people, and hearken with your ears, ye rulers of the congregation." So this is talking to people that are heads of congregations, heads of households, etc., right? So 22 says, "In all thy works keep to thyself the preeminence," that superiority, right? As like me, for example, the head of a household, of 6, I have to know and keep that superiority and that preeminence over the household. Not because I think that I'm better or something like that, but because I know there's an order set up by the Most High, right? First Corinthians 11:3. What does it say? That the head of the man is Hamashiach or Christ. The head of him is the Most High Yahweh, and the head of the woman is the man, and then the children fall under, right? So I have to keep using me as an example. I have to keep that preeminence over my household and not give power to them over me, right? And then it says, leave not a stain in thine honor at the time when thou shalt end thy days and finish thy life, distribute thine inheritance, right? So it leaves a stain in your honor when you die. If somebody says like, man, well, this dude was walked over all the time, right? Whether it be by your son, by your wife, by your brother, by your friends, right? Like it says in verse 19, give not thy son and wife, right? So we're gonna keep going. We're gonna go to let's see, chapter verse 24, right? Verse 24. It says, fodder, a wand, and burdens are for the ass, and bread, correction, and work for a servant, right? So we're gonna look at this. Like I said before, you can look at it spiritually and you can look at it physically. So burdens, like a heavy burden that's carried, is for an ass, for a donkey that would carry stuff around, right? Fodder, a wand, you would hit a donkey with the wand or with the branch to keep him going. But it says bread, correction, and work are for a servant, right? So as a servant of the Most High, right, which is the only thing that I claim to be, a servant of the Most High, someone trying to serve Him. Never gonna hear me say I'm a prophet or a disciple or this, that, and the other, right? A servant of the Most High. This is what is for me, right? And for you, if you're trying to be a servant of the Most High. Number one, it says bread. Number two, it says correction. And number three, it says work, right? So let's start with the bread. Let's go to John, the book of John, chapter 6. And let me see, 6 and 51. Or let's start on 50 actually. This is the book of St. John, chapter 6 and 50. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. 51. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. So this is Yahushua saying he is that living bread, right? Which came down from heaven, right? The bread of life. And the word is the bread as well, right? And what is Yahushua in John chapter 1? It says he is the word in the flesh, right? So going back to Sirach 33, it says bread, correction, and work are for a servant, right? So we have to have the word, we have to have Yahushua, right? That's for a servant of the Most High. Now, then it says correction. So let's go to Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 6. Hebrews chapter 12 and starting on 6. It says, for whom Yahweh loveth, he chasteneth, and, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, the Most High dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Right? So going back to Sirach 33 and 24, it says that correction is for a servant of the Most High, right? And this is telling you, who does the Most High correct? Who does he chasteneth? Those that he loves, right? If you're a servant of the Most High, of course you want to be loved by the Most High. And it says that he loves those who love him. How do we love him? 1 John 5:3. This is the love of Yahweh, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, right? So you have to know that this correction is for a servant. The Most High doesn't have to correct those who are not trying to serve him, right? He will to an extent, but it's like it says, so like I can't think of the verse right now, but how it says that sometimes the punishment for an evil work doesn't come quickly. Therefore, the sons of men are set in their mind to do evil, right? There comes a point where the Most High sometimes is just like, you know what? I'm going to leave you till the day of judgment. That's when you're going to get your punishment. That's when you're going to get your correction, right? It's just like me. If my son was out playing at the park with some other children and they're all throwing rocks at people, am I going to go and punish and start spanking all the other kids? Or am I going to get my son and I'm going to deal with him? I'm going to deal with him, right? Because he's my son and I love him. So it's the same thing here. When it says in Sirach 33:24, correction is for a servant of the Most High. That's for the people that he's dealing with, right? And then it says work for a servant, right? Okay, Tawada Ak. So the brother said, Khan, I just did a whole category on bread. So Khan, I'll praise the Most High, right? That's a good topic as well. Ecclesiastes 8:11, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Right? A lot of times the Most High just says, all right, I'm gonna let you think you're gonna get away with it, right? And I'm gonna get you later on. He's not even dealing with you right now. He's like, they're not gonna take the correction anyway. They're gonna think it's bad karma. They're gonna think it's bad luck or something, right? I'll let them think they got away with it, and I'll deal with them later, right? But guess what? Sooner or later, the Most High's wrath and anger and punishment is gonna get to you, and in that day, in the day of wrath, everybody's gonna know where that wrath is coming from, right? So let's go to Luke 12:47, right? So Sirach 33:24 says that work is for a servant, right? This is Luke 12:47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. So when you know what you're supposed to do according to the Most High, right? When he comes back, you're going to be punished with many stripes, right? When Jacob's trouble hits and you weren't doing what you were supposed to do, you weren't keeping the feast days, you weren't being set apart, you weren't keeping the Sabbath, you weren't studying to show yourself approved, right? You're going to be beaten with many stripes. 48. But he that knew not and did not commit things and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So it's saying, look in 47, it's talking about servants, right? Servants of the Most High. If he has given you much wisdom, much knowledge, then guess what? Of him shall be much required, right? He committed much more to you, so he's going to ask more of you, right? So that's the work that you have to put in. That's the more praying, more studying, more fasting, more getting your household in order, more getting yourself in order, more being set apart, more applying everything that he has given you, because some people don't have as deep of an understanding as you or me or the next brother or sister. So you have to understand that with that understanding and that wisdom comes a greater responsibility and more work that you have to do, because now you have to apply it or you will be held accountable for not applying it, right? Everything oldies, what is the best version of the Bible to read? So me personally, I always read out of my main Bible is the 1611 KJV. 1611 KJV because it's the only Bible that has the Apocrypha still in it, right? This is how the Bible was before Christianity decided to take the Apocrypha out of it, right? So you can also have, like the sister said, a KJV, right? But I know like the Jomar, he has the scriptures version, which he even sent me one of those, and I use that one, and I use the regular KJV to compare and contrast, so to speak, see what words they use sometimes compared to the 1611. But my main one is the 1611 because it was translated from the original scriptures, right? And it even says in the beginning on like the first page. Actually, I'll go to it real quick. On the first page, it says the Holy Bible containing the Old Testament and the New, right? So this is the 1611 King James, and this is what people don't realize. It says the Holy Bible containing the Old Testament and the New, right? The Old Testament always contained the Apocrypha in it up until the 1600s when they decided, the late 16 or mid 1600s, when they decided to start taking it out. That was a part of the so-called Old Testament, right? And then it says newly translated out of the original tongues, and with the former translations diligently compared and revised by His Majesty's special commandment, right? So it was translated out of the original tongues, out of the Hebrew and out of the Greek. And King James actually got, I believe it was 70 scholars that went ahead and translated it from the Hebrew and from the Greek, right? Um, Brother, I have a question. Okay, Khan, if you want to save it to the end, sis, we're already almost done with this chapter. We got like what, maybe 7 or 8 more verses. I am currently reading the KJV. I will get me a 1611. Khan, all praises. It is a little harder to learn to navigate because it has the Roman numerals as the chapters. So like I'm reading chapter 33 of Sirach right now, and it says XXXIII. So if you know Roman numerals, then you'll be good. But if you don't, then I mean I would just get a little a list. This is actually what I my dad is actually doing because he has the 1611. And yesterday I was or no, it was actually earlier today, this morning. He was trying to find some chapters, and he was in Psalms and he didn't know what the L was, right? Like the L is a 50, the C is 100, like a century, right? So let's go back to Sirach um 33 and 25. It says, if thou set thy servant to labor, thou shalt find rest. But if thou let him go idle, he shall seek liberty, right? So, in a sense, and I studied this with my 2 older daughters and my rib as well. When you think about it in a household's perspective, in a sense, the children are like a servant in the sense that they are supposed to serve their parents, right? That's why one of the commandments is to honor your mother and father, right? If they tell you to do something, you're supposed to do it as it's fit in the Most High, meaning as long as it's not going against the scriptures, right? So, in that sense, it says, if thou set thy servant to labor, thou shalt find rest. But if thou let him go idle, he shall seek liberty. If you keep your children busy, they're not going to get into as much trouble, right? If I stay busy, I'm not going to be idle, which we're going to get into right now. My rib, if she's busy, she's getting things done, things are going to be good. As long as we're all doing things, right, according to our own jobs, as me as a head and a husband, my rib as a mom and as a wife, our children as children, right, then things are going to be good, right? But if not, that we are going to seek, or they are going to seek liberty. They're going to want to do their own thing. 26 says, a yoke and a collar do bow the neck. So are tortures and torments for an evil servant. Right? So let's look at this from a couple different ways. Let's go to what is it? Proverbs 23. Let me see. Proverbs chapter 23 and verse, let's start on 13. It says, withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shalt deliver his soul from hell. Right? So it's saying not to hold back punishment from your children, even spanking them, right? If need be, if it comes to that point, right? So I can personally say, growing up in a so-called Hispanic family, if we didn't do what we were supposed to, especially when my grandma was the one watching us, we would get the chancla, we would get the belt, we would get the mano, right, the hand. My grandma, when we were little, if we were real bad, she would wait till we get out the shower, and then she would spank us, right? And she had a heavy hand. But guess what? We learned that taught us not to disobey her, or to behave, at least when she was around, right? So it's the same thing when it's talking about children. When it's talking about servant, it says tortures and torments are for an evil servant, right? So this can be talking about children. This could be talking about just a servant in general. I'm gonna go to Proverbs 17 and 11. It says, an evil man seeketh only rebellion. An evil man seeketh only rebellion. Therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Right? Sometimes the Most High has to send that cruel messenger against you because you're rebelling against him. Right? And that can be many different things. That can be evil spirits getting on someone next to you and doing something to you. That can be an evil angel coming and making you crash your car, hurt yourself, right? Get hurt, something like that. That can be a death, one of those death angels, and you end up getting put to death, right? That can be an evil spirit tormenting you, like happened to Saul, right? There's many ways that the Most High can torment you or torture you, and it doesn't even have to be physical, right? The mental and the spiritual torments are normally worse than that. But like it says in Sirach 33 and 26, that is for an evil servant, right? So verse 27, send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teacheth much evil. Right? So you can apply this to anybody in your household, your congregation, or anything like that. But what you really should apply to first is yourself. Right? 2 Corinthians 13 and 5, it says, examine yourself whether you be in the truth. Know ye not your own selves. Right? That Hamashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. So we have to examine ourselves and see, maybe I should be laboring more and not being idle, because idleness teaches much evil. I'm getting into these evils and I'm falling away from the Most High and ending up sinning and doing these things. The majority of the time it's because you're idle, right? You're not doing the things you're supposed to do. You're not studying daily, right? Morning and night. Even if it's just reading a chapter in the morning and then studying, getting real deep into the scriptures later on, right? Or maybe you're just on Instagram or on Facebook or on Moco Space or whatever it is, right? I always forget the names of all of them. Chapsnat, that's what I call it. Not Snapchat, Chapsnat, Twitter, what else? All of these different things, right? That you get on, that's all idleness. And that teaches much evil. Because guess what? There's more evil on all of these outlets, on all these social media outlets, then there is good, right? And that's teaching you much evil. So the brothers, Jomar just put Proverbs 31 and 27. She looketh well to the ways of her household and eateth not the bread of idleness, right? A lot of women post that they're a Proverbs 31 woman, but they don't look well to the ways of their household. If you're not teaching your children, if you're not obeying your husband, keeping your household in order, clean, cooking, right? Making sure your children are respecting their elders and learning, right? And making sure that your children aren't idle, making sure you're being a helpmeet, right? That's one of the main characteristics of being a Proverbs 31 woman. And I can tell you that I know many women that have been called out for calling themselves Proverbs 31 women, but then they eat the bread of idleness, right? But I'll digress on that. So Sirach 33:27, one more time. Send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teacheth much evil. Set him to work as is fit for him. Right? So this is another thing we got to remember though. Set him to work as is fit for him. So I wouldn't tell my son, okay, you're eating the bread of idleness. He's 4 years old, right? Go cut the whole yard, and we got an acre, right? That's not fit for him, right? I wouldn't tell my rib, you're being idle. Go get a job and provide for our whole household, right? That's not fit for her, right? It's as is fit for them, right? If he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters. Then you're going to be more strict with them. You got to be more strict if they're not going to be obedient, right? It's the same thing with children. If they disobey you, what are you going to do? You're just going to, okay, just let them get away with it? No, you're going to have to be more strict until they learn what they got to do, right? 29. But be not excessive toward any, and without discretion do nothing. So it says, but be not excessive toward any, right? There's some brothers in the truth that I've heard say things like women or their wives are supposed to be their slaves, right? Anything they say or do, they got to do it, right? That's being excessive, right? It also says, love your wives as yourself, right? So it says, but be not excessive towards any, and without discretion, do nothing. So discretion is speaking in a way or acting in a way as to not cause offense. So when you're telling somebody they got something to do, let me just give you all an example, right? If I tell my rib, hey, let's say I need to tell her, our clothes need to get some ribbon on, right? I need to do that with discretion. I could say, hey, you better, or you need to put ribbon on our clothes today. Like get it done before I come back from work. That wouldn't be using discretion, right? There's always a right way and a wrong way to speak. I could a lot better way of saying it is saying, "Oh, hey, baby, I have those new shirts. If you can put some ribbon on them today when you get a chance." All right, the water, right? That is using discretion, right? Verse 30. If thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, because thou hast bought him with a price, right? So there's a lot of precepts that come to mind on that one. But let's go to Matthew 22 and 39, which I'm sure probably all of you are familiar with. Matthew chapter 22 and 39, but actually we'll start up at 36. It says, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Yahweh said unto him, Thou shalt love Yahweh thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So 39 says the second most important command is thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, right? So going back to Sirach 33 and 30, it says, if thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, right? A woman, in a sense, serves her man as the helpmeet. Children, in a sense, serve their parents, right? As giving honor to their parents, doing what they say to do, right? But you also have to keep in mind you're supposed to love them and treat them basically like how they say in the world, as you would want to be treated, but along with the word, as it's fit in the Most High, right? And then it says, because thou hast bought him with a price. Talking about a servant, you would literally buy a servant for a price, right? But let's see what this means spiritually. Let's go to First Corinthians chapter 6 and verse, Salakia, 1 second. 6 and 20. For ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify the Most High in your body and in your spirit, which are the Most High's. Right? So us, Israel, were bought with a price. How were we bought with a price? The Most High sent Yahushai, right, to give us an opportunity to repent and to make it to the kingdom, right? That was the price that was paid in his son's blood, right? So if we were bought with a price and our neighbors were bought with a price, right, then we should treat our neighbors as ourselves, right? And this goes back to Sirach 33 and 30. If thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, because thou hast bought him with a price. And that also goes back to the law, right? Leviticus 19 and 17, right? Or I'm actually starting on 16. It says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Salakia, 16. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am Yahweh. So we're not supposed to stand against the blood of your neighbor. 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Right? 18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Right? So this is a law to love your neighbor as yourself. Back to Sirach 33 and 30. It says, if thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself. In other words, treat him how you are treating yourself. And if we really love our own souls, we are following the word to the best of our ability, and we're trying to do the same with our brother, with our sister, with our children, with our wife, husband, to the best of our ability, right? And helping them to do the same. So verse 31, if thou have a servant, entreat him as a brother. Again, going back to Leviticus 19, right? For thou hast need of him as of thine own soul, right? So you have need of him as of thine own soul, because the way you treat your brother, your sister, your wife, your husband, your children is going to affect your soul as well. If thou entreat him evil and he run from thee, which way wilt thou go to seek him? Right? You're not going to be able to seek out these people after treating them evil, whether it be your wife, husband, children, right? And just to prove that point is, I've seen over the past few years, especially as I've done different counselings and things of that nature, especially marriage types of counseling with married couples, because that's what I like to try to stay to, since I have been having, an all praise to the Most High, a successful marriage, biblical marriage, for a few years now. And let me tell you, brothers and sisters treating each other evil, and one of them decides to leave when marriage is supposed to be a covenant for life, right? It's supposed to be a representation of um, how Yahushai is the bridegroom and the church is the bride, right? And brothers and sisters leaving each other, right? And that's because they have been treated evil many times. So again, that goes back to the law, Leviticus 19. Again, it goes back to this. If you have some type of servant, a brother, a wife, son, whatever it is, don't entreat them evil, right? For thou hast need of him as of thine own soul. The way you treat them is going to affect your own soul, right? So I believe a sister, the brother Ivan asked a question, and the sister, if you have that question you want to ask, sis, you can go ahead and ask before I hop off. Ivan, Shalom, Yahweh Shai Barak. Question about the Day of Atonement. This will be my first time observing it. Are we to fast or keep it as a Shabbat? So let's go real quick to Leviticus 23. What day are you going to keep it up, if you don't mind me asking? Me and my house is keeping it as well. Um, Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown, right? Salakia, 1 second. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 26. All right, so the brother asked about Day of Atonement. This is Leviticus 23 and 26. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your God. So the first thing it says is the 10th day of the 7th month, right? Which okay, so the brother put Khan the same, right? So same here. If you go 10 days from the first light, which is what I go off of, as the start of the month, the first light that you see of the moon, it will be Saturday sundown to Sunday sundown. And like it's saying here, it's a holy convocation is the first day. The first thing it says, right? It's a holy convocation. So that's a gathering. If you look in the Strongs, in the Hebrew, it says a gathering, a public meeting, or a public reading, right? So if you know people or have believers around you, you are supposed to get together with them and you're supposed to study the word, read the word together, right? Pray and fast all at the same time, right? And it says, and ye shall afflict your souls. Or Salaki, I'm gonna go back. So it says a holy convocation, right? So a set apart gathering, reading. So to the best of your ability, you're not supposed to be around worldly people, worldly things. This is a set apart holy day, right? You convocate with other believers. And then it says, and ye shall afflict your souls. When you look into that afflict your souls, and when you look into the way that the Israelites would keep this day, they would fast for the whole day, right? And that is when you think about it, one way that in this modern society we can afflict our souls because we're so used to overeating, overindulging in everything in general, not even just food. But when it comes to food, a lot of people are not used to fasting, right? Me and the brother Jomar were talking about it. I don't know if you're still on here, but we were talking about it, that it's crazy how some people, when they were keeping the Day of Atonement last month, and they're making posts and things like that. Oh, how y'all doing on atonement? Y'all gonna make it? Are y'all doing good? Or people complaining, man, this is hard. Okay, calm. So it's kind of crazy because you should, in reality, be fasting at least maybe on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, maybe once a week, even a couple times a week if you can, right? What I like to do consistently is is to fast for a certain period of time. They call it intermittent fasting, right? Where you can eat everything, say within 8 hours of the day or 10 to 12 hours of the day. So let's say you wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning, you wait a couple hours. Let's say you eat at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then you eat again at 1, and then you eat again at 5, right? That's all within about 7, 8 hours. Then you don't eat, right? So from 5 o'clock's your last meal, and then you're not going to eat again till the next morning, right? So you're supposed to do 16 hours off, not eating, you're fasting, and then 8 hours on. That's intermittent fasting. But any type of fasting, especially fasting, say for a day, a week, or a day out of the month, is going to be very, very profitable to you, right? As I'm sure some of y'all know, for those of you who have done it. And we did a whole live on fasting as well. Um, so I'm gonna keep going. It says, verse 28, and ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahweh your God. Okay, Jomar, since you're still on, if you could please post up the definition for atonement, Baba Kishar, the definition of atonement. So it's a day for you to make atonement to the Most High, right? So you're not supposed to be doing any type of work or anything like that, right? It is like a Sabbath. Um, verse 29, for whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, that same soul will I destroy from among his people. So we know that there's, with Yahushua came mercy and grace, right? But we still should be afflicting our soul and fasting to the best of our ability on this day of atonement, right? So verse 30, or Salakia, 31, ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So there was a sister that was posting, we don't have to keep the Day of Atonement because Yahushua made that atonement for our sins, right? And this is true. He did make the atonement for our sins. But what you have to understand is when you're baptized into Hamashiach, right? Like it says in Romans, the 6th chapter, and you're baptized into him, does that mean that you're not going to sin for the rest of your life? No, right? You're still, at some point or another, you're going to go off, whether it be inadvertently. Let's say you eat something and then you realize, man, there was gelatin in it, or whether it be something you fell into a temptation, right? So this is that day that we make atonement for that sin. Oh, Tawada. So atonement, reparation for a wrong or injury, reparation or expiation for sin. So you are paying back, in a sense, for the sins that you committed, right? And we do this every year until the kingdom comes, where we will finally be sinless, right? And like it says here in verse 31, ye shall do no manner of work, it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. So forever does not mean we stop at any point in time, right? Verse 32, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath, right? So it's the 10th day of the month, but like it says here, the 9th day at even, which is sundown, is where you start observing it. And then it says, from even unto even ye shall celebrate your Sabbath, right? So it does say it shall be a Sabbath of rest to you. A Sabbath of rest, meaning you're not supposed to do any work. but at the same time, you are afflicting your soul, right? Meaning that you are going to fast. And like I said, um, depending on how the Most High puts the spirit on me, um, that day, I'm going to try and do at least a couple of lives, right? Just so those of you who are observing the Day of Atonement can be in the scriptures even more, right? So hopefully that answered your question. Out. Let me go back up. I wanted to know how I can correct my child. I'm trying not to yell or whoop her. I take her phone and tablet, but she's getting a little out of hand. Also, are we allowed cotton thermal for winter? Okay, so the first one to answer um your question, I did a live, I believe it was called something like you'll correct your children if you love them. So how old is your child? That plays a big factor in it, right? But definitely taking away the phone and tablet is going to help because that's idleness, like we just read, right? Let me go back to that real quick. Sirach chapter 33 and verse 27. Send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teacheth much evil, right? So you have to understand when children are on a tablet or on a phone all the time, that is teaching them much evil, right? That's teaching them idleness. So like me, for example, okay, 11. So your daughter's 11. So I know I could tell you, I know personally that's a difficult age. Once they hit that 11, 12 years old, as a daughter, I have a 13-year-old daughter. Actually, her born day is today. She just turned 13. Of course, we don't celebrate the birthdays, but her born day was today. She turned 13. My other daughter is 11. So I know what you're going through. And my best advice to you would be this: get them to do as much possible things as you can without being excessive, right? Like we just read as well. Let me see, verse 29, Sirach 33 and 29. Uh, but be not excessive toward any, right? I would get them to do as much things because she's coming into that age where she should be learning, right? She should be learning how to be a young woman, how to take care of the household, how to carry herself in holiness, right? Being chaste, things of that nature. Titus, the second chapter. I would read that if I were you. And it's up to you. It's your job to train her in that, right? So as a mom, I would say keep her off of the phone and the tablet as much as possible, and use it more as a means of reward. Like, okay, you did these chores or you helped out with these certain things, you studied. Another thing I make my daughters do is write verses or memorize chapters, right? So like they memorized Proverbs 23, the 23rd chapter, right? Or they'll memorize they've had the 10 commandments memorized for a long time, but that's another thing I would get her to do as well, right? Get her in the scriptures and in learning and doing her duties as a young lady as much as possible, and hanging out with you doing certain things like that, right? Studying together, going over flashcards is another good one, right? Things of that nature. Let me see. Khan, like always, very edifying. Knock the water. Khan, all praise to the Most High. I'm glad to be of service in any way. I would definitely be watching your up and coming lives. All praises. Khan. All praise to the Most High. So yeah, tomorrow, like I said, Jomar, if you're still on here, are you gonna be able to hop on tomorrow? I was gonna do taking care of your temple, and then Saturday, there's a couple topics people have asked me for. I'll choose one by tomorrow, and then Saturday night leading into Day of Atonement till Sunday, like I said, we'll do at least a couple. Um, It's a little hard because she's autistic, but she's learning to pray more. Okay, Khan. So yeah, actually, there was a sister that a while back she had told me about. I can't remember Salakia, man. I can't remember if it was her son or daughter that was autistic, but there was some certain things that she would do to help them out with that, sis. So if you want to DM me and I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'll try and find those links that she had um things that help out with children with autism, that helped with their how does she put it? That help with like their attention span and things of that nature, right? But that's good that she's learning to pray more. That's definitely good, right? Okay, Khan. Sounds good. So yeah, so that was Sirach chapter 33. Most High willing, we'll get a couple more chapters in this weekend and get some more edification. Just let me know what time. Khan. Tomorrow, I believe I set it for 10. I'll get back to you on that. I already said it. I think it was at 10 or 11 my time. So that would be 8 or 9 your time out. Um, but yeah, we'll definitely hop on here tomorrow and go over taking care of your temple, right? So with that, I'll give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Say shalom and barakatah to all you sincere brothers and sisters trying to live out the scriptures in humility and in sincerity. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, all praise to the Most High. Most High willing, y'all have a good last day of the week, or leading into the last day of the week, a good prep day tomorrow. And I'll see y'all on the Shabbat tomorrow, right? So shalom.